Daycares in Ontario are allowed to open today, but an open letter by the Ontario Coalition for Better Childcare says the plan, it's unworkable and will result in either parents paying more or centres having to close. Carolyn Ferns is their public policy coordinator and joins us now here at Your Morning. Good morning to you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So when we actually think about this week, okay, so the announcement was Tuesday, today's Friday. That gives, these places essentially, 2 days to get ready. It's not as simple as unlocking the door, is it?
No, not at all. There's a lot of preparation that has to go to reopening childcare. Our organization and the report that we put out weeks ago asked for 3 weeks' notice to childcare centres to prepare for reopening, and they were given 3 days. So what really disappointed me, and I think disappointed parents across the province with Tuesday's announcement, was it gave this false hope that somehow childcare was going to open today. And from what I'm hearing, no childcare is opening today, and very few are going to be able to open even next week or in 2 weeks. What's much more common is, parents are receiving emails from their center saying, we really don't know when we can reopen because there's still so many unanswered questions.
And lots of extra costs,
piece of that is
Carolyn.
funding.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to ask you about funding and costs. There's got to be all those extra costs and new restrictions in place and PPE and all of that. How is that going to affect these daycares? And is the government going to cover any of that funding?
Yeah, well, that's one of the big questions is the funding piece. And, when the government made this announcement, first of all, they made it without even putting out the guidelines. Those came later that night. And still there's no funding document. And what we're really concerned about is that the government has signaled that there is no new funding to support this. They're still relying largely on, the federal programs, the wage subsidy, but we know that childcare centers' costs are going to be going up really steeply. We've heard that it costs 2 to 3 times more to operate a program with these kinds of health and safety restrictions as it did pre-COVID. And of course, those restrictions are necessary. Health and safety protections are important, and parents expect that. But we know that parents can't afford to pay more, and we know that childcare centers, are going to have to close their doors if they can't make this work.
Well, and the other issue, I'm assuming, is that they can only have 10 individuals in a room. So 2 caretakers, 8 kids. Yeah. That means that a bunch of kids are not going to be going back to the daycares right away. How are these daycares going to decide which children get to be there?
Yeah, well, that's something else that we asked for, was that the government needed to give clear eligibility criteria for, who got priority access, as they did with emergency childcare, because, early childhood educators and childcare workers don't want to be the gatekeepers. They don't want to come into conflict with families about who can and cannot get access to their space immediately. I don't think that's a good way to go. And, it would be better if there was really clear criteria for the priority. I mean, what would be even better would be if we had taken the time, these months of closure, to figure out a plan to repurpose some available public space. We have schools that are sitting empty, and we could have been working to, to get some of that space and other available public space to make sure that childcare centers had enough room to operate, at a higher capacity. The government squandered that opportunity, and frankly, they're squandering this one. I think that we really, what I wish was happening was that the province was using this crisis to finally address the childcare needs of Ontario parents and create a system that worked a lot better.
Carolyn Ferns, we appreciate your time. I do want to mention for our viewers, there will be a virtual rally held on Facebook Live. That's happening at 11 a.m. Eastern today. Carolyn, thank you so much for all that great information.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.